Thanks, Micah. Okay, we're on. You are on.
Mark's phone.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Just had a conflict come up.
Right. Nicely and clearly as you do.
What?
Fight as clearly and nicely as you do.
Yo,
Did you remember you traded me for Thursday on BOE?
And me.
I just need a few more things going on this month.
Yeah.
so
I know.
Yeah,
I know. What a
I do remember.
thank you. Thank you.
I trade.
I'll trade you Thursday morning for Thursday afternoon.
Hey, wait a minute. I gotta have some trades too. Let me find my.
I have both, but I don't have time for either one.
Don't do it yet.
Make sure you tell Diana,
I know. She called me yesterday and I'm like, I am so sorry.
because I traded you for the afternoon, but
How
then
about
I
if we
needed
just
the
cancel
morning back,
Thursday? Is that
because I
okay?
needed that
Huh?
meeting.
Cancel Thursday?
Which I should have just kept the afternoon, because I got canceled.
Oh, yeah, today.
Yeah, you got canceled. Anyway.
Sad, another day later. We're moving through them pretty fast, so
Okay.
we just cancel
Hey, Mark,
Thursday.
you on speakerphone?
Hi, Mark.
Yep, no problem.
Patty,
Mark,
if you hear any words that are not proper, it's Dave Erickson.
Don't believe it.
Has he got his placard yet on the mirror?
I got a lot of placards.
You had surgery yet?
Thursday.
Surgery is on Thursday.
yeah,
Whoever is
Ick.
picking up my Board of Equalization shift, thank you very much.
Uh-oh.
Sorry for making a mess.
On Thursday?
I think it's me in the morning.
Yeah, I had one Thursday.
Yep.
And what do they gotta do to your knee?
They gotta completely rebuild the ligament.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get going here. We do have some budget presentations. You ready?
I have never done this before, so just remember I'm stroked. I use that as an excuse for anything I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, Danka.
I was gonna say, you brought the right people,
Yeah,
so you're okay.
I brought Jennifer too, in case she had anything to add. So,
This is my lunch.
yeah, but I don't know how to do it.
That.
I'm also stroked and not texting.
Terrell, have you been given access to look through in Cassell at your budgets?
I still can't get into Cassell. So I'm just going off of the expenditures through. It's because the macros are wrong. Yeah, so I still haven't been able to get in there, but, okay, wait. I don't know where we are. There.
Because our clerk auditor said that he would actually like to make sure that to have read-only access to as many people that want it.
Okay, there we go.
Which I think that people need to see their budget. They need to see it in real time rather than always have to, Brittany, I mean, do you want 5,000 phone calls? No, you,
Tired of me calling her.
yeah. they need to see that, and I was appalled that all that stuff had been taken away.
So I'm just gonna tell you, I'm really not sure what happened with my 2023 budget. I did send the two of you, because you're the chair and you are over victim services, some transfers that need to be made. And I did, and Brittany has, I think, put this in, this new grant, here for 2024. We have designated vehicles, so we'll get into that. Basically, where do we wanna start, Brittany? Do we just wanna start on personnel? Okay, so I'm just gonna say that, and then I'm just gonna put Brittany on the spot. She loves that, I know. If you look at the statement, I need X amount of dollars for my 2024 request. However, if I go to payroll, it ends up being a lot less. So I'm not sure if I don't really know why I need as much money in my 110 line as what is listed here.
Why do you say that? Can you make that bigger? I can't see it.
Because I don't know what this is.
So that attorney VAWA VOCA allocation are the VAWA grants. So those are the
Okay.
attorneys on your VAWA grants.
Okay.
But because you found the
got it.
grant, we put it in your budget.
Okay, got that. That makes sense. So apparently I fund a couple of people besides me.
But only the
Only the VAWA people.
portions that VAWA pays.
Yeah,
The
okay,
match
that
and
makes
the
sense.
federal award.
And I could have asked her that earlier, but I forgot.
No, it's okay.
So with regards to, here, I'm just going to go to account because I can see this better. So with full-time employees, I'm asking for that. It's going down a little bit. I really don't need that amount of money in part-time or seasonal employees. And I'm happy for those to be to zero. I don't need that much money because I don't have any part-time employees. So I'm happy to fund the full-time employees, but I don't need part-time or seasonal employees. If I do, I would be happy to come to you, but I don't need that money.
What are seasonal employees in your,
Sometimes we'll have an intern, and we'll pay that intern, but I don't anticipate for the next year having any interns. We decline to take any master's level students, and we'll keep it that way. And part-time employees, I think that we want just who we have on our team, and to leave that so you all can have that money back. I don't need it.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do part-time employees or seasonal employees get any benefits? Does that benefit amount include anything for?
They do get some if you go to the payroll tab. So it'll reduce your benefits by 1,100 in seasonal employees and 1,700 for part-time employees.
Okay.
Okay.
$2,800.
And we have already talked about that. Brittany and I have already gone through this, and we decided we didn't really need that. With the other pay, that's our pager pay. And right now, we have a victim advocate on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. However, please note that some of the cases that we've handled lately, it's been a lot. We have 2 or 3 advocates out. It just
Same time.
Yeah, depending on the situation, we may have 2 or 3 advocates out. That's why that has increased because, and I don't know if we'll need 28,000. We may be turning some money back to you. So it just depends on the situation if we have 2 or 3 advocates out. But you all can have under our expenditures for personnel, you all can have the part-time and seasonal money back.
Why would those who are on pager be on overtime?
It's a separate thing. We're exempt employees and it's a pager, it's called pager pay.
Oh, he's asking that here. We do have
Oh,
overtime.
overtime? I don't.
No, we don't have any overtime
We don't
budget
have any
requested for
overtime
24.
budgeted
Okay.
because your exempt employees don't get overtime. But I'm not. Oh, yes. She's not exempt.
So she's not allowed to work overtime.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to work overtime.
That is the message I'm
It's not in the budget.
The other thing is, if we do look at her, and I think there's enough money in our full-time employees, VAWA has asked that we have a point of contact person for daily VAWA things, and we've put Jennifer on that. So instead of being an office specialist, we would like to change that title to, what did we call it? Executive assistant. so that she's going to have additional responsibilities. And so I did want to make that change, so that she could be, executive assistant, which she will be on the day-to-day stat collecting and things like that for VAWA. And that satisfied VAWA's requirement for us. So I would oversee everything. I'll be the day-to-day person for a bunch of stuff, but she'll be the day-to-day person for VAWA.
Okay.
And they were okay with that. With regards to travel, professional services, which includes travel, I'm going to ask that we have a designated fuel line, similar to the sheriff, so that we're really transparent in our vehicles and the gas. What's happened this year is that didn't happen, and I've got 3 advocates and an investigator who have eaten through my travel line quite a bit. So I'm going to ask at the next budget opening for some money to be moved. I'm not asking for additional money. I'm just asking for some money to be moved. But I think it would be nice to have a travel line when we're going to conferences, or we have to go to a trial, or we have to go meet with the victim, and then we have our designated fuel card line. And so Brittany had put that in there under supplies.
I'm sorry. Do you have a credit card already to use for that? Okay.
Yeah. So with that, travel will probably, I don't think I need that much money in travel as what is on here. I think I would like that reduced down to $5,000. And if I need more, I would be happy to come to you. But I think if we have the designated fuel line, I would like that. I don't need that much money.
Would 2,400 fulfill your fuel needs?
Well, she's got
Fuel's
money
down
on
at the
fuel.
bottom.
She's got 6,000. Yeah, and we'll see with our professional and technical and travel and education and training. The other thing is, I know this sounds really weird. I was telling Dane I'm going to come in and say, well, I don't think I need this much, and I don't think I need this much. If I have the lines designated the way that I think I need them, I think I will be better this year for 2024. Education and training, I think that needs to be cut in half. So I don't think I need that much. And that is because some of the training that we are doing is specifically geared toward mental health, which I have ARPA funds for. So I don't think I'm going to need that much, although I think Brittany did an awesome job on this budget. I don't even know who did it, but we did it together. If we go into supplies and other expenses, the office supplies, I do not know how I got to $2,000 this year, but I am way, 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 way overspent. And I just don't think anybody caught it. And so I'm going to ask in the next budget opening for some money from other lines to be covering that. But I need office supply money. And that's because we mail out victim notification packets that have a victim impact statement, and we try to text them out, we try to email them out, but there are people that we have to mail them out. And there are things that we have to mail out, and we use a lot with postage, with letterhead and envelopes. And so we do need money with office expenses, and so we would like that. We're not going to ask for building and grounds and utilities. That's going to be Scott. With regards to communications, basically the only communications I will have are our cell phones and the line that comes in. What is that ISDN thing?
Oh, it's the allocation from IT for the
Okay.
phones, the office phones.
Yeah, and that's basically, I'm not sure I'm going to need $10,000. How do I figure that out? $85 times 7 people,
I was gonna say, how did we do that?
plus a little bit, and that's all. Do you have a calculator?
85 times 7?
7.
Times 12 or no?
85 times 7 times 12.
Times 12, yeah.
We did our and
7,104.
our VAWA.
Oh, the reason it's so high, never mind, scratch that. The reason it's so high is because I have my VAWA people on there, my investigators and prosecutors. So that's why. Okay.
Grant covers that.
The grant covers that. And then we have $6,000 in fuel. for our investigators and victim advocates. And that's a designated fuel line, and everybody has their own cards, and they put in their mileage when they go to gas up, and it's designated by vehicle. I believe we're getting a second investigator, and so that will include 5 vehicles. So we'll see where we are, but I think that will include the 5 vehicles.
And Terrell, I'm sorry, did you say those were employee-owned vehicles?
They're
or
county vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 5 that are specifically designated to
3
your,
victim services, 2 investigators.
So, but you're wanting to also combine on that fuel line, combine travel to and from conferences?
The travel line above, the reason I don't think I need as much money is that would be for people that don't have a designated county vehicle. If they have to get called out, it's gonna be more for travel. I don't even know what we'll use it for.
Yeah, but you mentioned about the fuel line,
I have a designated fuel line.
so that these people that travel just to a conference,
They'll use that would come out of the fuel line if they have a designated vehicle. But I have staff that don't have designated vehicles that will drive, remember yeah, and they drive back and forth. I don't think I'm gonna use that much money in travel.
So the court victim advocates in the building, what account is there?
They're gonna come out of 230 because they're using their personal vehicles to go back and forth.
I guess I'm looking at, I think it would be better that you kept the fuel costs to a conference separate than your daily.
Would you prefer we do it that way?
Well, then we actually know really what the conferences are, the costs really are.
Okay, so we can do that. We can say if you're going to a training or a conference, it comes out of the 230 line. Anything else, responding on scene, going to whatever, that would be out of the 290 line.
But
And then the 230 line would also include the victim advocates going back and forth.
person is using their own car, aren't they being reimbursed on mileage? So how does that stand for gas line though?
They're just being reimbursed for mileage, they're not being reimbursed for gas.
Yeah, they get reimbursed by their mileage.
I think that's why we put it in 230, because they were mileage reimbursements and not fuel receipts.
That's why.
We-
They're traveling, because it's not fuel, it's just
I
travel.
guess what I'm saying is all costs associated with the conference need to be into that, the
230
line item that is for conferences and, education and all that. So then we have a true understanding what those conferences are really costing.
Okay.
Everything, all costs. That's what that's my,
Yeah, that makes sense. We can do that.
Would it make
I hate to
sense-
see so much of that blended with other things.
Right.
yeah.
We have a problem with that right now, so.
Yeah, no, that's a simple thing for us to do. Jennifer and I can do that with Brittany and make sure, if we're going to a conference in Salt Lake, we can when we fill that vehicle up, if it's a county-owned vehicle, we just say this is designated to the 230 line because it was at a conference. So that makes sense. And then we have emergency assistance. The only thing that ARPA funds don't cover, and I need to review this again, but I think we had decided security cameras are not covered by ARPA. And as a result, we sometimes will buy stalking victims cameras. That's the only thing that we've been purchasing with this funding here, is security cameras for people, if there is a stalking case that's been filed. It can't be, Micah calls me and says, hey, Terrell, I need some security cameras at my house. I'll say I need a police report number, Micah. Sorry, So, and then the only other thing is the uniforms. We do wear a uniform, and again, I wanted to take it out of office supplies and make it a designated line so for transparency and it's clean. We have cold gear that's got logos on it, and it needs to be replaced sometimes.
So on the emergency assistance, the actual was 10,000, now we're really dropping. Why such a difference?
Because we're using ARPA funds.
Okay.
And we use ARPA funds to buy groceries, pay rent, pay utilities, things like that for victims.
That's what you're calling emergency assistance versus now it's gonna be cameras.
Yeah, that would only be security cameras. And we buy pretty inexpensive ones, so that's actually quite a few cameras that we purchase. If there is a case where a victim is being stalked or there is a protective order violation. The uniforms are just to make it clean and transparent. And then the only other expenditure we have is with our vehicles. And again, on that 250 line, it's for 5 vehicles. The maintenance, the oil changes, tires. I was driving one night and hit a wrench and didn't see it in the road. It was dark. And the tire went flat immediately, and I had to get 2 new tires. And I know that a couple of the SUVs are coming up where they're gonna need 2 new tires, and we'll rotate, and so that will be with oil changes, things like that. And that's my budget. And I guess overall, there is a decrease because I don't think I needed as much money this year. What I'm doing this year for 2023, and you'll see it in the budget change, is I'm asking that some of the funding be reallocated because I'm way overspent in travel and I'm way overspent in office supplies. And so I'm trying to make it to where we actually created a fuel line and we created something for uniforms and things like that, so that it's more transparent even in 2023 and I'm not so over budget in certain lines and not spending money in other lines.
Is ARPA money the same thing on the mental health for the first responders?
Yes, yeah, that is actually a state grant. The mental health program is a state grant program that's been pretty successful so far here in Cache Valley. And I just want everybody to know that the form the state uses now is courtesy of Brittany.
That's embarrassing.
Because they said we have to make a report every quarter. So Brittany and I are like, well, where's the form? They said we don't have one. So, but it doesn't say you have to wait until the form is done. It says you have to make a quarterly report. So Brittany created one.
Good for you. That's awesome.
And now they want the template to send it to everybody else, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
basically they did.
And they'll pay you for it, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question regarding the ARPA funds. That's the source of the funding outside of tax dollars. But do the ARPA funds, do they run through the treasurer's office and then you submit for payment and they
So,
send payments out to what's needed and things like that?
so ARPA was paid in advance, and so we've already received the money from the federal government for ARPA funding. So Alma, he goes in every quarter, and we have these ARPA tracking sheets to track all of our ARPA expenditures, and Alma reviews those and checks them for accuracy, and he puts them together, and then he submits our quarterly reporting to I don't even know who he reports it to. But yeah, but Alma takes care of that. He reports that each quarter.
And each ARPA expense has a case tied to it.
For us to assist somebody with ARPA funds, there must be a police report or a DCFS case number attached to it. We can't help just anybody. Again, if Micah called me and said, can you help pay my rent? I would have to get the case number, and if there is no case number, then we can't help him.
We'll give you a case number for him.
And then after that's reported, you can go in and see how that, if that's all in line with what you've reported to.
Yeah, so I work with Terrell at the end of each quarter before Alma submits it, and we go through her spreadsheets and we tie them and make sure the spreadsheet matches what we have in Cassell.
Okay, good.
And how much more of that ARPA money, like how long is it gonna last before it runs out? Or
I think quite a while. We still have like
couple of years?
750,000.
There's not a time frame that's a
It has to
deadline to
be
be spent.
I think we have to encumber it in 2020, at the end of 2024 through 2025. So for example, we put a lot of victims at the Best Western for an emergency. We'll encumber money to Best Western and to the Hampton Inn. We've got them actually at all the hotels now. And so we can encumber money that we think we can average out. How much are we spending per each hotel, for example, or groceries? We buy groceries constantly. And we can average out and do an encumbrance that way. So we'll know, and we'll be able to use the money through 2025, 2026. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. You say, and this is just off the wall, you say we buy groceries. Do you guys go out and buy the groceries, or do you have a request form and they go get the groceries?
We buy them. We actually do an order. Most of the grocery stores, we use Walmart a lot because they have a north and south pickup. We order the food so we can keep track of what they're buying, and then we order it and pay it, and they go pick it up. And again, it's tied to a case number. So we're pretty, she can tell you we're pretty strict about that. So,
No. You want to know if I wanted a case number now too?
yeah, we, you know, we're a little lenient. You know, if there's kids in the house, we'll let you buy some cookies.
Yeah.
But I try to follow the WIC guidelines, basically.
like
You're
most
not
of
gonna
them are
get a
pretty
lot of
healthy.
junk from us.
So how many orders, say, per month do you fill for people?
Several dozen,
Yeah.
dozens.
So
I
some
think
30
we've
to
gone
50.
through about $250,000 in services just in the last, 15 months?
Wow.
So,
Just thinking about this, you know, we've had an issue we've been trying to deal with that happened a while ago about money that we didn't actually bring into the budget and then pay out. And that's why, that was my question is, the ARPA funds, if we don't see them in the budget, are we at risk of not having proper controls over?
well, you're gonna start getting a newsletter from me each month, and it's gonna say what we've spent in ARPA funds and what our balance is. I actually have it ready to send out.
I would think the reports that Alma does is the reporting, this keeps us in compliance.
Our ARPA funds are spent through budget openings, so like the
Okay,
budget
so,
opening.
okay.
Yeah, so we
that's
didn't
why
include it in 2024 because we don't know where she will end in 23. So kind of like the purchase order rollovers that we do in March, and how we kind of did it similar this year where we rolled forward continuing ARPA projects. This similar is probably what we're going to do for 2024. So whatever Terrell's projects amounts that are outstanding that are unspent is what we'll request to roll over into our 24 budget at that point. So that's why it's not included here.
Through our accounting department, and it's paid out
Yeah,
appropriately that way.
yeah.
Okay.
And we have a good system in using our ARPA funds.
Okay.
We've helped a lot of families. It's the same with our mental health first responder program. They gave us the money ahead of time. It's there, and then we just do a quarterly report, and it just subtracts how much money we have each quarter.
Let's talk about that for just a sec. So my husband used to be law enforcement. He's now the IT director for Logan City Dispatch. And so we qualify him as first responder. But I didn't realize until I started working for Terrell that the first responder grant covers counseling not only for the first responder, but for their family, their children. And I don't know that a lot, we need to get the word out, because I don't know how many people really realize that, but that grant is phenomenal.
We have tried, and we'll continue to work with making sure people know it includes their immediate families, it includes retirees, and those that have died in the line of service. So we have firefighters that have died because of cancer, for example, in the line of service, and we'll cover those costs for mental health counseling for them.
For their family.
It's been a really good program.
Do you have a feel for what funding will be available into the future when the ARPA funds have been exhausted?
Yeah, that's my question is,
What we're going to do?
all of a sudden now,
I don't know. I'm getting there, but I have no response yet. I don't know, and it's gonna be a really sad day because we've had multiple SWAT callouts, for example, in the last couple of weeks. Those victims have all had to be relocated, not just overnight, but a little bit longer term than that. I really don't know what we're going to do. We're gonna have to come up with something. People just don't have enough money to buy food, and we go into homes and there's just hardly anything there, so we'll do an order for food. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, thank you for all you do. And,
So when that well is dry,
I'm retiring.
Tires.
I think I put on my, oh no, I didn't put on it this year.
So-
Oh no, I don't remember. I had something about a 4-year plan. So last year was my goal was a 5-year plan. We have that. We hired Jennifer and now we're moving to a 4-year plan. So thank you so much for your time, for your support.
it should
of
always
this
be a
program.
5-year plan, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I was gonna suggest we stand up and give you
oh,
a
no,
standing ovation for all this budget cutting you're successfully doing.
we're cutting our budget. So, we have a really good team. We have a really good, group. And I just don't think I'm gonna be really frugal that, in the next couple of years. And I think that if we have designated lines, it will help, and we're just gonna continue being frugal so that when it's time for me to retire, we can keep that frugality. I don't even know. I'm gonna make up the word frugality.
That's a word.
Continuing. So thank you so much. And then I'll be back, I don't know when. I got to do the budget change. I will send you all the same thing I sent the two of you. I'll send to everybody else, just kind of designating where I need money. I'm not asking for additional money. I just need money moved so that my budget balances. So,
Very good.
thank you so much. And now it will be Scott's turn.
Thank
Oh, wait.
you.
Okay.
Brittany, do you need to help him too?
did not say that. For the record, I said, I think we're good. But you're welcome to stay.
Brittany, don't leave.
Yeah, this is my first time. He's like,
Okay, I don't have a computer. Well, I do, but that's not what I brought for a presentation today.
So you're in the black, it looks like.
Yeah, well, isn't that where we want to be?
Exactly right.
So I brought just a simple handout for everybody. And I realize that probably in the future I'll be doing a
Thank you.
PowerPoint or some document up on the screen, but
Thank you.
it always seems with every council meeting, they're hard to see in the first place. So we'll run through these really quick.
First line don't sound good, does it?
Yeah, you should have put this first page on the last.
Could you?
Well, honestly, I realize we're dealing with the 2024 budget, but this is an issue that I want to deal with and get it cleaned up. I spotted this within my first month of being the director of the Children's Justice Center. Speaking of the $75,000, it was a private donation that was on my revenue lines, okay? Brittany and I scheduled bi-monthly meetings to help me understand the budget, and in that process, I saw that money was there. I had meetings with the Friends Committee, knew they didn't have $75,000 to donate, and just kind of wrote it off. And during those meetings, Brittany explained to me, no, that's part of your revenue. It's intertwined in all of these other budget lines. And so, yeah, I've had to deal with that. And I want to be able to clean that up and a couple of other items. So that's where I wanted to start. I realize it may not necessarily fit exactly with this meeting, but I wanted to at least get it to the full body of the council. When I figured it out, I quickly met with Catherine and Sandy so that we could get it started that way. But I want everybody to be aware of it. do we have any questions on that, just to start with?
Do you have any idea when that item showed up in your budget and what was the other side of the journal entry?
What's the existence of it? What,
The best we can figure, as Brittany and I have talked about it, is somewhere in August, there was a very preliminary conversation about the possibility of the Friends Committee donating money from rent of the old building to the county. But that never turned into a contract. It never turned into a conversation with the actual Friends Committee. And at the time, given that the Friends Committee went through this period where the CJC went from kind of a nonprofit to an actual government entity, they were kind of left in the in-between, not knowing what they were going to do with themselves. What that did is it left their bank accounts idle. So Zion's Bank actually sent their entire balance to MyCash Utah. So they had no money, and they were in the process of trying to get that back when I spotted this, okay? So I knew they didn't have the money in the first place to even be able to donate. So don't really have a good answer for how it got there.
it was like a pledge?
Well, somebody had to make the
It wasn't
entry.
even that, it was just,
It wasn't a pledge,
it
yeah.
was, nobody talked to the CJC Friends Committee about this money.
Phil tracked it down, because I only had viewing rights to the 2023 budget documents, but it was in Google Sheets, and Google, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Google Sheets, but they have a history, and it tracks of all the changes made and who made the changes. So it was, Karen did make that change, but it was scheduled on a day that Phil found, and he was scheduled just a meeting with Terrell and I think
Yeah, but I was.
but Terrell doesn't remember that conversation, so that's was kind of our best guess is that maybe, I don't know, we don't really know.
It's speculation.
It's all
The challenge is, I mean, it was $75,000 of speculation on a building that we knew was going to be sold, and nobody talked to the committee in the first place. So I think it was conversation that got written down and then just never got pulled back. So, don't know, but it's money that doesn't exist in my budget, so I've had to make some adjustments to be able to deal with that.
Are they planning to donate money from the proceeds of the sale of that building?
No.
Not at all?
The conversation that we're going to have with the CJC, that I've had with the CJC Friends Board, is that they want to be able to have an ongoing foundation that they can use to help with prevention efforts. Stephanie Kendrick is working on partnering with the school districts to be able to have a prevention course. That's still developing. And then there's also been conversations about having an amount, and we haven't decided exactly what that amount is yet, but that an amount will be provided, or scholarships or something like that, for officers, DCFS, whoever needs to make sure that we have the best child abuse investigators in the valley, in the state. So, right now, I mean, with the sale of the building, they made enough money on that to be able to do things in perpetuity. And it's their money, I'm gonna let them do that. So. Okay, as part of that, been working with Matt Phillips to try and get some building work done. I know you've already seen a lot of building work being done on the CJC. We didn't have any engineering on any of that stuff. So I'm working with Matt to get engineering so that when we do have bids, we actually have bids and a plan, and that may include coming to you for future monies. Well, in the 2024 proposed budget, we've included $200,000 for capital improvement monies, hoping that we will have engineering and a plan based on engineering to be able to move forward with some of the things that we need to do at the CJC. Next paragraph, Dan, you'll see budget line. I talk about budget lines 125 and 142. seasonal employees and other pay. Both of those two combined contain $16,210. I don't have seasonal employees and I don't need other pay. But that money was used to calculate for Christine Conrado's hiring. She is a part-time forensic interviewer that also speaks Spanish. Right now, her salary isn't coming out of either of those budget lines. It's coming out of a budget line that has no money in it. It's coming out of budget line 120. So I would like those two combined into 120 so that we can actually be predicting where her pay is coming from and have the accountability for that. You will see those on the second page. Those are budget amendments that Brittany and I have put together that we will be bringing forward. And I do beg your pardon. This is the first time that I've done this process. I watched it in June. I'm watching it now. So hopefully I'm submitting and presenting everything as it's supposed to be done. But it's a process I'm not familiar with. So these are the budget amendments that Brittany and I have come up with that should cover all of the issues that we're talking about. There's also some grants that need to be adjusted just because we didn't renew the grants, or I think in the case of the Bear River CDBG grant, they just stopped doing it. So those were grants that were attached to the CJC that we're just not going to be doing. So, and then I didn't apply for VOCA. So VOCA, as far as the CJC is concerned, was strictly being used for therapy. We had been asked to reduce VOCA. I elected to just not do VOCA because there are other sources for therapy funding. There's crime victims reparations. So we're not leaving those who need help out in the cold. We're just directing them to other sources rather than having a source that's coming through the CJC that we're having to manage. My attitude or idea is just reduce the number of shells on the table that we have to try and figure out where the P is under. So on the third page is a simple breakdown of our anticipated revenues for the CJC. This includes state contract monies and anticipated monies from the county. With that, there are also additional monies that potentially could come in. Brittany and I are working on, we've had some money that's been donated to the county's 501c3 or the CJC 501c3 to be able to pull that into our budget and be able to use it. At a meeting yesterday, and Brittany's not aware of this because we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but there's the potential for rollover monies from the state legislature, but we won't even know about that until January. Because that's when they vote on those rollover funds. What I've presented here is what we have put together as anticipated needs for the fiscal year 2020, or for the budget year 2024.
Scott, what are one-time funds?
One-time funds, that is one time, and I'm assuming you're talking about the $50,000. The $50,000 one-time money is from the state legislature. Tracy Tabbitt at the state was able to secure, I can't remember the exact figure, but what it worked out for our center is $50,000 on the condition that we used it quickly, okay? So we are using it for salaries. We're going to roll that right into salaries and just burn that up right there. They didn't want any of the centers, and every one of the centers received some money to one degree or another, but they didn't want the centers to be in a position where they couldn't find some place to spend it. So that was the condition, is if you're going to receive it, you got to use it. And I want to use it for salaries. It just makes it easy for us to be able to take care of that and reduces ultimately what we need from the county.
Thank you.
So how does that affect salaries for the next year then?
Well, I imagine we'll have $50,000 worth between, because the state contract runs from July to June, and I think we can probably use $50,000 of it between July and January. So then it would just be covering what we needed to from January to June, the end of June. before we get the next state contract and whatever it offers as far as salary. That's the thing, is the county operates on a calendar fiscal year, and the state operates on a July to June fiscal year, so we kind of end up with this offset.
Okay, and so, but there will be funds available again?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. There will be state contract funds.
Okay.
Whether we have the one-time funds or not, I don't know. I think we probably will, based on the conversations I've had with the state, but at this point, it's not guaranteed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the questions I have.
I like the simpleness of this.
Yes, I do.
Well, I can give you that in spades. So.
I like the one-time funds, I'll qualify for that. If we're gonna give it to you, use it.
Yeah.
Brittany, did you do this too? No, that comes from the state. Trying to get you credit here, you know?
She actually did there was a fair amount of that she did put together. So, but the format comes from the state. We just had to plug in the numbers to be able to make them work with what, because they capped us this year at, I think, $237,000. So that was the initial submission that we had to send them, was what are we gonna do with their money? Where were we gonna find the balance out of county funds? And that was before the $50,000 was even allocated. That came in probably about a month after we had to submit it, which might explain why, you know, the numbers don't necessarily exactly reflect the use of the $50,000, because that came in several weeks after we had to have this initially submitted to the state.
You should also have access to watch your budget all the time too.
It's actually getting better.
Good.
When I first got here, my access into Cassell was spotty at best. And I've had some issues even more recently, being able to even just log in. But within the last couple of weeks, my access in Cassell has expanded. I can actually see where budget lines and what specific items are being spent for what. So I've spent a fair amount of time actually just going through and figuring some things out, spotted some things actually. Terrell, you and I need to talk. My office supplies budget is overspent as well, but there's a budget transfer in there for salaries that I don't know why. So, right, that's the look I had on my face when I found it. So, not a huge amount, but just it seems like it's in the wrong spot. So, might have been, but it shouldn't come from office supplies.
It is a payroll reimbursement for office supplies, but I don't remember.
For 312.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions?
See, this right there is exactly why you need to be watching yours. Terrell, you're watching yours. I mean, they need to be seeing this. So then.
Ongoing.
And that's why I want my lines, you know, my budget lines, that I wanted to bring that
Ask the
up.
questions and get the corrections and
I
do what they
want
need
them
to
to
do and
reflect
help
what they're
everybody.
supposed to be.
So that's wonderful. So,
Okay,
nice
Thank
change.
you.
thank you.
Great change.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
That's the first time I've ever heard somebody say that this was fun.
Or that they needed less money.
Yeah, yep.
You guys win the prize.
We'll keep working on our budget to make it go down.
Okay. So then we don't have to raise taxes.
Well, yeah, I figure if I can cut it, if I have to, I can come back and explain, but I think that we can cut. So,
Good job.
we decided over the other building that we would be cutting our budgets.
Maybe we ought to have you on the next budgets and say that to the other people. I'm cutting my budget, so,
We've cut a lot.
yeah, so, that's cool.
Thank you.
Cash.
Thank you.
Thanks.